I want to thank the Windham VFW for allowing us again to come out here and talk about developments in Washington regarding veterans issues. As Woody knows, we did this about a year ago. Came out here, had a crowd about the same size, and sort of walked through some of the different issues down in Washington, some related to budget, which we've got a chart here that sort of shows some of the latest figures that are being considered by Congress right now. We talked about the GI Bill, the enhanced GI Bill, post 9/11 GI Bill benefit. Those numbers weren't just plucked out of the air. They were the independent budget numbers which veteran services organizations such as the American Legion, Disabled American Vets, VFW, year in and year out have come to Congress and asked to be appropriated. In prior years that was not the case, but starting in 2008 we are seeing again a much larger commitment in terms of resources to the veterans budget. The increase for 2010 is the budget which we just voted on in the House prior to the August work period back home here. And as you can see, it's about 11 to 12% increase from the year before. What also is not shown on that chart is that we, as part of that 2010 budget document, also did advanced appropriation for 2011. In other words, we didn't just do a one-year appropriation, we did a two-year appropriation. And the number for 2011 goes up to about $49 billion for 2011. And I mention that because, as many of you know, one of the biggest complaints that veteran services organizations have had about the budgeting process in Washington, which is for veterans benefits, been a year-to-year process, is that really beyond a 12-month cycle, it was impossible for the Veterans Administration to really plan, and Roger knows this down at the West Haven facility, beyond the end date of the federal fiscal year, September 30th, from one year to the next.
Under the eligibility of that 2.5% tax, and that's my question.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. It's Section 202 of the bill that is, before the House right now. And as you point out, I mean, that section basically lists the forms of acceptable coverage, which is excluded from participation in the National Purchasing Exchange, which is, again, that would be the program that would set up a menu of choices for people and small businesses, and it would be, basically, as it's presently designed right now, private health plans who offer their plan to eligible individuals. Medicare, Medicaid, and the VA and TRICARE are listed as acceptable health plans, but as you correctly point out, there is language in there that says that the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Secretary of the VA, and that the Secretary of the VA is also referenced in that clause. If they determine that the level or the access to services through the existing VA program that exists right now is not sufficient for an individual, that they would be given the opportunity to participate in the purchase. Secretary Shinseki, who I mentioned earlier, who again served this country, he's a 4-star general, has a statement on the VA website which makes it crystal clear that he and the Department of Veterans Affairs is not relinquishing an inch of its healthcare system as a result of H.R. 3200. And as I read the bill, I agree with that. I mean, it is
volunteer army that some of them have been over 2 or 3 times, and it just seems unfair for such a narrow slice of our society to have to bear all the burden here. And it certainly wasn't that way when I was in. Is there any discussion about a universal service or anything in
really are not enthusiastic about the notion of a draft. I mean, they really feel that even with all of the difficulties and challenges that we have gone through with an all-volunteer army, that the quality of service and the commitment level of the people that are there is something that they really think is something that would be lost. So, I would just tell you that right now, there's really not, in my opinion, a real viable effort to reinstitute a draft. There certainly is a push to expand the size of the ground forces, and frankly, the ultimate issue here is that we've really got to make sure that we follow through on this plan of drawing down our troop levels in Iraq, which Odierno, who I will tell you was somewhat skeptical about the case of withdrawal when I was over there last year. This last visit, 3 weeks ago, he is totally confident we're going to be able to hit those dates in terms of redeployment. In fact, they're accelerating the drawdown. They added a brigade to be pulled out just a few weeks ago. Some of you may have seen that in the newspapers.
This government of ours takes better care of the illegal immigrants coming across the border than they the veterans. That is the God's honest truth. And the minute we find out and we start kissing their fannies and start taking care of our own vets over here, this country will be a lot better off.
Well, it's certainly been a focus of our office with the free transportation service, the housing program, and supporting these types of changes.
That's good, but people are getting angry.
Yeah.
I mean, angry. They are getting angry. But we want our people in Washington to start looking at these people as not cattle or a piece of meat to be used and thrown away. Our bodies and our minds are broken, and we want some help. Period. And a lot of these people are they get to the point where they're not going to take it anymore. You know, or some of these people who are in office or some type of organization or whatever, it's a sad thing to say, but they may have to start putting guards at the outside of the door. You know, and this woman who was in charge of Homeland Security, she says, our veterans are terrorists. You know, when I heard that, I was off the wall. Who the hell is this woman to say that?
To do public speak, that's why. Mr. Courtney, Congressman, sir, would you be, as his constituent, that 2-year backlog of information that he needs in order to get himself righted, would you be able to personally take his case and swear
Yeah, we just have, Mr. Burke is going to sit down with him from my office who understands this system and knows it better than anybody,
Then you can take that information
absolutely.
and
No,
help
we'll be
him?
happy to help. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Joe Courtney is a great man. He's doing a wonderful job. He's trying to help all the veterans and everyone associated with his district.